Oh, that part is gonna be so good. Oh, I'm so excited to hear where this is going. What's up, all you swans and ravens? If you know, you know. Mark with Cradle of Filth Academy here, and today we're doing, hey, let's talk here. Today we're getting kind of funky because I did not really anticipate new Cradle of Filth. Now I knew this came out a little while, and I've heard a handful of the songs off of the album. But I got through like the first two tracks, and I was like, yo, I gotta talk about some of this on the channel. So I held off on a couple of the songs, and I was surprised. Because what I heard of their new album, I was really jamming to. I was really into nymphetamine way back in the day, long time ago. And on a whim, I just checked out this album. So I'm really excited to check out Crawling King Chaos here. Because I'm really excited to hear, what Dani's doing with his voice and how everything's going. So this is going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to kind of make me feel nostalgic because like Cradle of Filth was like my early teen life. Like that's what it was, along with a handful of other bands. But anyway, if you're new to the channel, my name is Mark. I am a vocalist in 3 metal bands: Kardashev, Neverbeth, and Viremia. I am also a vocal coach specializing in harsh vocals. So, your nasty, guttural, toilet bowl, piercing, high, scream sounds. That's what I do, and that's what I teach in a lot of my music. And we take the reaction format, we break it down, and we try to make it educational and fun so that you have a good time and you learn something too. Now, if you enjoy the content, like, share, and subscribe. It means a lot to this guy. Let us know if you had fun in the comments below. And we do have a Patreon where we have access to a really cool Discord with people from all around the globe. We have events, multiple events a week. No, not multiple events a week, multiple events a month that are a lot of fun. So if you really enjoy the content and you want to support it, feel free to come and hang out. But just watching the video, hitting the like button goes a long way. We appreciate that. So I think that's enough of that. I think we get into Crawling King Chaos by Cradle of Filth, and we see what we can see. Here we go. So sure enough, we're around 42 through 45-ish seconds. That's where the first pause tends to happen. So first and foremost, like, we are getting awesome, very, very traditional, very strong Dani Filth vocals. He is really well known for this like high screeching like whistle tone that he does, and like I would love to do an example of that for you, but I can't. I can do a lot of different things vocally, but the whistle tone is something that has escaped me for, well, I really haven't given it much time. But I can't bust one of those out for you, unfortunately. However, I can definitely tell you a little bit about it. So the whistle tone or the whistle note, that tends to happen extremely high. Like we're talking like, oh, it's been a long time since I looked at it, but like your C6 to like a D7, I want to say. Take that with a grain of salt. And this vocal style actually involves a very low amount of air. The higher notes really require a lot less air. And essentially what we're doing is we're taking those vocal folds, we're holding them together, and a very thin stream of air is escaping that space and creating like this whistly tone, right? Now, oftentimes a lot of the reason why people will have difficulty reaching higher notes is because our vocal folds, as we raise up in pitch, want to blow apart, right? They want to switch into that falsetto. That's why we kind of have, I mean, there's more to it, of course. this is a bit of an oversimplification, but if I take my voice and I don't try to control anything and I, hey, hit that voice break, our vocal folds want to blow apart, to hit that breathy tone. So part of what we do as we raise our pitch is we compensate for that by learning how to hold them together in a relaxed way, accessing. Well, we have to shift as we go up. So it's not like this is going to apply for the entire scope of all of our high notes, but shifting to the front, brightening up, or depending on the tone you want, thinking about this, the sound and the feeling of your voice, like literally lifting out of the top of your head, can be very, very helpful. And then over time, approaching these whistle tones, you could get there. I have heard, and I'm under the understanding that whistle tones can be more difficult for people based on the shape and size of their vocal folds. I haven't looked too in depth on that myself, but it does seem to come naturally to other people, and much more difficult, much more difficulty to others. Let's keep going though, because I want to talk about his harsh vocals. But like, I'm surprised and impressed that he's still able to hit these tones really nicely after all these years. I'd be interested to see how he sounds live, but like so far, very good, very good. Now get me oh. Okay, so this is a good spot for us, I think, and I'll try to keep this somewhat brief so we can keep going. We got five and a half minutes of song to listen to here. But this is really cool. So, because like I said, I haven't really like dug into Cradle of Filth in a long time. This is the first time I'm really like actually analyzing his voice, and what he's doing here is I hesitate. Let me think of the best way to say this. He's utilizing a very relaxed and accessible distortion. I'm going to go back so I can kind of try to give you some examples, try to do it to the best of my ability myself here. But he's utilizing a very standard like type of distortion, and then changing where he's placing it and changing the amount of true chord phonation that's coming underneath it, right? When we are creating our distortion, our distortion is pretty much always being created high up, right? So we've got our vocal folds, and above that we've got our arytenoid cartilages and these structures called aryepiglottic folds, right? And in actuality, when we're creating distortion, that whole space is rattling and shaking around, not necessarily the vocal folds. That being said, and most screams involve these structures to some degree, right? So that being said, when we're creating these tones, right, when we're creating these tones, we can activate vocal fold engagement underneath, as long as we understand how to separate, right? Separate that distortion from the vocal folds. Because the moment you're getting the majority of your distortion from your vocal folds fluttering around, you're cruising for a bruising. If not today, years down the road, right? So that's something to think about. Let's go back and listen to it. I just hit my microphone. Sorry, everybody. I got to do that once every couple of videos. It's like a law of nature. Let's go back to about here. I'll let it play for a little bit longer, and then maybe we'll talk about it in a little bit more detail, but really cool stuff so far. Also, the aesthetic of this video is just awesome. It's got like this kind of melodramatic, gothic, of course, Halloween vibe, but in a way that's kind of serious. Like, I can take this pretty seriously. I'm really enjoying the way this looks. Let's keep going. Yeah, you can hear it. Creeping sanity. You can hear some vocal cord under there. Creeping sanity. Right? And then he switches to the, I think the word he said is end of days. He takes out that true chord phonation, and it's pure texture. End of days. dies, right? Super cool. Let's keep going. Okay, we've got a transition here. So yeah, it sounds like, now I've never tried to do this before actually, so this is gonna be kind of weird. It sounds like he's taking that sound. I'm gonna back up from my mic here. He's taking that, and this is like, listen, I'm just playing this. I'm playing around with this right now. So this is not gonna sound exactly like him. Just put that in there. But anyways, so if I take like this, also he can get a lot higher than I can. So this will be weird. But if I take this like, and I sort of take it, yeah, like I feel like that, like if I really like practiced that and honed that over like a couple weeks or a month, I could probably get kind of close, right? Like it would take a long time because he's got a very, like he has a very curated sound that he has built and focused on making unique to him for like over a decade, right? So if you want to, if you're out there trying to sound just like this, like keep that in mind. He spent over, I don't even know how long Cradle of Filth has been around, but a very long time making this his sound, right? But what I'm hearing is I'm hearing a really easy, relaxed distortion on top of a right? And then he's just controlling it way better than I am. Let's go back a little bit so we can hear this transition and then keep going.
Paradigm shift to chaos.
Ugh. So we have a little bit of a different vocal thing going on. Sorry, I'm sweating like crazy. I have to turn off all of my air conditioning because it's so loud. This is a really old house. But we've got a lot of a slightly different. I want to listen to it one more time. But we have a slightly different vocal style going on. It sounds like he was bringing. I mean, I hate to pigeonhole this, right? Like I hate to just stand here and be like, "There's a fry vocal," right? Because there are so many shades and textures behind this vocal dichotomy that we give it, right? I mean, learning vocals, it's good to start with a false chord or a fry sound, but I don't want to create like this false binary system that we tend to have and that we tend to speak about vocals in, because there are so many shades and textures between these spaces. And when we access those shades and textures between, you know, our 8, you know, 1 and 2, 0 and 1 understanding of screaming, oftentimes it's going to carry a lot of our own natural voice and resonance through it, right? So like a lot of people doing like a pure arytenoidal, like false chord scream are going to sound very similar because it's all texture. And a lot of people doing just like a pure fry scream are going to sound very similar because it's pure texture. Once we start moving through these different spaces where we're bringing in tonality, which is honestly a bit riskier to do, and you should have more practice and training before you start there, it starts to sound more like you, right? So it starts to sound more like Mark, more like Jessica, more like Billy, more like Dani, right? But so with that soapbox done, it sounded like he was bringing in more of that fry distortion on a sort of intentionally wheezy voice that can be a little bit risky as well. Seeing as how he's done this for over a decade, he's fine. Like he knows what he's doing. He's figured the balance out, right? No issues that I'm aware of. I'm not aware of him ever hurting his voice. If he has, let me know in the comments below, but I'm not aware of that. But notice how it takes on a less rumbly, a less cracky, less clacky sound, right? There's a little bit of tension above the vocal folds, right? Not on the glottis, but above it. Let's check that out. Right there, sees the goddess, yeah. Oh, that part is gonna be so good. Oh, I'm so excited to hear where this is going. So I want to talk a little bit about airflow, right? So one thing that we all can do, right? That's like one thing that is pretty anybody's going to be able to do this fairly easily. It's just changing the airflow through our vocals. I talk about this from time to time. And, one thing you'll probably notice is that some vocalists have what sounds like a very clacky, gurgly high, like an right? Right? And then other vocalists have more of a type of sound. And the only difference between what I did there was I adjusted my airflow, right? So one was like, if I was to give this an equivalent of a clean tone, one was like, ah, right there, ah, and the other was, ah, right there, ah, you can hear the difference in those tones. Now, with that being said, we can use that to add a little bit of flavor and texture, and we had a lot of that here, and God, it sounded good. Okay, I've got a big gap in my Cradle of Filth listening, right? And maybe I should go back and explore their discography, but I'm going to make a bold statement here that depending on how their albums before this have gone, this may be like some of the best vocal performance Dani Filth has done in a while, right? Because like, I'm very impressed by everything I'm hearing here. I love how he's taking a simple sound and moving it around and adjusting the balance in such a way that it sounds so different across different sections. It's this is great stuff, y'all. This is great stuff. Yeah. Yes. Yes. I stand by it. I stand by it. I stand by my bold statement. That was fire. So I want you to listen to this section again. And I want you to think about lips and teeth. Think about lips and teeth. A lot of what we can do to add nuance to tone as metal vocalists is to utilize our lips and teeth a lot more than I think many people do, right? You hear a lot of this with like Travis Ryan, Cattle Decapitation. Will Ramos does a lot of it in Lorna Shore. Dickie Allen does a lot of it. Changing tone, not here, but here, right? So let's listen, and then we'll talk about it, and then we'll keep going. Oh goodness, we're already at 20 minutes. You know what? I don't care. It's a good song. We're taking the time. Yeah, so a lot of times what people will do is they'll think they need to switch to a low, right? So if I'm here, I don't know the lyrics, so I'm just gonna kind of mime the syllables. Right? We think we have to shift to a low, but we don't, right? If I just take a high scream, because this is really where like a lot of where he's existing again with his more unique coined sound, right? If I take like a all I'm going to do is I'm going to change the shape of my lips and I'm going to slightly alter the position of my tongue. Now, I'm not trying to build this up as I'm about to do something crazy. It's a subtle change, but subtle changes sometimes add the most nuance, right? Sometimes the smaller changes across a section are what add dynamics over time and make a song more interesting to listen to, right? So if I take a high, right, you can hear it's like I'm hitting all these pitches. It sounds like I'm going through a scale. All I'm doing is changing the shape of my lips. That's it. And you can do that too, right? So, and it has such an impact, right? Oh, it's just so filthy. Haha, pun intended. Let's keep going. All right, I'm getting really granular here, but he didn't like he did a syllable like that was the vowel. I really want y'all to hear that. Right there. Right? That's that lip, that's that tongue, that jaw. So much of what we change is here, not here, right? It's delicious. It's a fine wine of rotted blood and flesh. Oh, Dani Filth, the Raven King himself. That's what that's the title that he has now, the Raven, because he sounds like it's like a flock of like angry like war crows, right? Anyways, that song is fire. That was awesome. That was so good. Y'all, that was so good. Like it's been a long time since I was really into like the symphonic kind of like goth black metal side of things. But between this and the Demu reaction I did a couple months ago, like yo, might be time to get back into it because there are some delicious flavors to be had in this genre right now. So if you've heard the whole album, let me know if it's worth me listening to. Let me know if I should go check out the whole thing. I mean, I'm not going to make a reaction to the whole album, and I don't know if I'll touch Cradle of Filth for a little while because we like to have some variety. But if this is something that I really should sit down and listen to start to finish, let me know. Because that was a tasty song. So if you enjoyed the content, if you feel like you learned something, let me know. If you learned a little bit, if you found anything you could apply to your own vocal stylings at home, leave me a comment. It makes me feel good when I know that I'm helping people out. Hit the like button, subscribe if you really like the content, and if you really love the content and you want to help us make more, check us out on Patreon. It's a lot of fun. And as always, many thanks, much love, Night.